Earlier this year, we moved into a new 2,000 square foot home, at least new for us, just outside of Portland, Oregon. We are in the countryside, so we don't have mains water or sewerage. We've got a well, which has really lovely fresh well water. We also have a sewage treatment system, and we don't have any power generation on site right now. We are planning on getting renewable energy generation in the future with solar panels and maybe a battery backup system. But at the moment, we are paying our local utility company for 100% green electricity, which means however much electricity we use, our utility company ensures that an identical amount of power is brought into the grid that is generated through renewable means. And we're lucky our local utility has a pretty green energy mix anyway. So everything in the house is powered by renewable electricity. And I do mean everything. We don't have air conditioning here. We don't have any non-electric heating. All of the heating in the house is electric. Obviously, we drive electric cars, so we use a reasonable amount of electricity per month. I think our last bill was about $260 for the month, but that included charging 2 electric cars every day. But as winter comes, we are going to face a big challenge, namely how we heat the house and how we do that in an efficient manner. The first way, of course, is to make sure that you're wearing a sweater or a hoodie, as I am right now. But the second way is to make sure that your heaters and your heating systems are operating at peak efficiency. Now, this house was built in 2006, and the builders put in cadet baseboard heaters, or forced air heaters in our case. Forced air heaters, if you're not familiar with them, are essentially the grills that sit on the wall at about knee height that spew out warm air in the winter, and they're powered by mains electricity, and they're controlled using these knobbly thermostat things. Now, there's one of these in every single room in our house. Some rooms actually have 2 because they're larger rooms. And while they're great in small houses, they're not great in larger houses because they're not very accurate in the electricity that they use. They're kind of vague in the thermostatic qualities. And when we lived in our rented apartment for the last 4 years, previously to moving here, in the wintertime, we'd find these thermostats one day would be super, super hot, and the next day they'd be super cold, even though we didn't touch the dial. And so in an effort to be more energy efficient, we've just got a truckload, at least it feels like a truckload of these. This is the Mysa smart thermostat. It can be controlled with your smartphone. It is also digital, which means it's more accurate in its electricity use. And say the company behind it, you can save up to 26% on your electricity bill just by having this smart controlled thermostat. One of the other advantages to these is, unlike this, which is kind of something you have to play with throughout the day. If you're going out and you don't want to heat an empty house, you have to turn it off manually. These can have schedules, and so they will heat the house when you're around and drop the heat when you are not. So we are going to be installing these throughout the house. That's what this video is about. We're going to come back maybe in the spring and see how efficient these have been. Obviously, this is our first winter in the house, so we don't know how efficient it's going to be. But I'm going to talk you through installing one of these, and then I'm going to install them throughout the entire house. Okay, so let's see what's in the box when you get it. Now, we've actually purchased 10 of these for the house, and I should note that we have purchased these ourselves. We're not being sponsored by Mysa to do this video. This is out of our own pocket. Now, the first thing I will say is these are super expensive. They are about $120 each. If you buy them directly from Mysa, however, and it's pronounced Mysa, you know, like Jar Jar Binks. Mysa, so smart. If you buy these in bulk from Mysa, you do get a discount. Now, we got a $180 discount by buying 9 of these in a row. And so we saved effectively, got 1 for free. So the reason why we're getting this rather than a Google Nest is that Google Nest only works with low voltage heating systems, and this works with line voltage systems, which is what most of those baseboard systems are. So let's have a look inside. All right, so open up the box, and we've got the thermostat itself with 3 wires on the back, and this is the bit that lights up. And then inside here, Whoops, we've got some wire nuts, which we'll use in America. You use wire nuts in America. I hate wire nuts, but I'm learning to live with them. And then inside of that, some more documentation. The Mysa Smart Thermostat Guide, which tells you how to install the system, which is nice. I know the app also has an installation in it as well, and it's in English, and it looks like it's also in French. Inside of this unit is all of the gubbins that you'll need to connect to your Wi-Fi system, and then from there, you just have to wire these in. Now, I should point out here, if you're not comfortable with electrics, you should get a qualified electrician to do it. In some states, in some countries, you do in fact need a qualified electrician to install these. I haven't had any problems installing stuff like this in the past, so let's see what we do. The only thing I will say here is if you are British like me, this wiring system makes no sense. This is a load, which is black. Neutral is red or live 2, and live or live 1 is black. So you have to kind of do a little bit of thinking when you're installing your wireless system, and you also have to figure out which cable and wire goes where. So let's get on with it. So the first thing you're going to do, obviously, if you're going to be working with electrics, is make sure that you don't have any power to the unit. I've already gone downstairs and turned off the breaker box for this one, and I know that this is off because if I turn it all the way up, no heat is coming out of the thermostat, so it is actually safe for me to pull it off the wall. We won't need that anymore. And then I'm just going to take this thermostat off the wall. Let's use this screwdriver here instead. Now, I should mention, if you're watching this, this is not me showing you how to install it. This is me installing this on video. Do not follow what I do, because I am not responsible if you make a mistake. Do not sue me if you blow your house up. Okay, so if you follow the wiring diagram in the Mysa app, it tells you best case scenario, assuming that your house has been wired by someone who's being smart about such things. But our house was wired by somebody who doesn't really follow the rules, and so therefore may have made them up a little bit. So I'm just going to leverage this off as best I can. Looks like somebody has actually painted over. This used to be the nursery for the previous homeowners. So yeah. All right. So as you undo this, now if you live in a normal house with normal wiring, these would be colored appropriately for what you're going to be doing. But this house has been, like, all of the wires have been painted, which is kind of crazy. Which means I have to look on this side here and make sure everything tallies up. So we have to kind of take stuff off and look. All right, so the thing to remember here, the thing that I've remembered, is if you look on the back of the thermostat, it says L1, T1, L2, and T2. So basically L1 is going to be your, in this case, is going to be your neutral line, or your one of your live lines. L2 is going to be the other live line. Because this is a 240 volt system, I've already checked, then that's actually going to be your live. That's going to be your neutral if you're looking at that in a traditional way. There are 4 connections here because these thermostats actually switch both the lines at the same time. So both the negative and the positive are switched at the same time. Unfortunately, that's not how the Mysa does them, or the Mysa, sorry. So we have to combine both of the, have to think about this, make sure I'm doing it right. We have to combine both of the neutrals together. Okay, so this one here and this one here are going to get combined. Like I say, wiring in American houses scares me quite considerably. I am not a qualified electrician. Do not follow my advice. Okay, and I did check that there was no live electricity. All right, so both of these horrible cables are going to go bye-bye. All right, so all of my lives are going to be switched in a minute, but according to this, using this setup right now, what we're going to do is we are going to connect. It feels so wrong as a Brit. This is my neutral. So all of these are going to be neutral. All of my blacks are actually going to go together. So I find all of my neutrals and I connect them together. But before I do that, I'm going to take this off and you can see what is inside. So this screw does have a tendency to go walkies. So let us make sure that we don't lose it. So if we pull these off, inside here, this is obviously the brains and the display on this side, and then in here is where you're going to mount it onto the wall. So they've pre-stripped it, which I think is great. Just pull that off, and I'm not actually going to use the wire nuts that they've supplied. In case you didn't already know, I have already installed one of these, so I've practiced a couple of times. So these are my neutral wires. Okay. And I noticed also, I've learned that the Mysa is sensitive over which one of these you actually connect. If you connect the wrong one, it will come on, the display will come on, but it won't switch the power. So this is a wire nut. If you've never seen one before, they are spawn of Satan. I am using ones that I bought at Home Depot because they've got these nice little wings on them, which are really good. Yeah, that one's not coming anywhere now. Okay, so that is my neutral. And then I have to decide which one of these is going to be the live. Now, if I look on here, this one says L2 and T2 is going to be to the heater. That's going to be what's called load on here. So I'm going to take this one out first. It gets even more fun if you've got more than one heater, which we do on some circuits in this house. It gets super fun at that point because you're having to do two things at once. Okay. So which one did I take off? L2. So L2 is actually going to be L1 in here. And this is why I was saying it's confusing. Because it's the other way around. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. But American wiring has different weird rules and regulations, and all the cables seem to be different all of the time. And I don't have a clue why it is the way it is. But hopefully that will now work. Next thing I need to do is to grab this one. I'm going to take this one off. Thud, 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 thud. I'm sure this is making for really horrible noises on the camera here. I'm going to pull that one out. Oops, okay. And then we're going to connect this one to that one. And I'm going to use one of my wire nuts because I like my wire nuts better than the ones they gave me. Because the ones they gave me don't have these lovely little wings on them. But I'm actually using the same size wire nuts that were on the previous thermostat, so it's not like I'm using the wrong size wire nuts or anything. All right, give it a tug. That's not coming out. Give that one a tug. That's not coming out. Give that one a tug. That's not coming out. I'll be right back. Now you've got all your wiring done. You have to very carefully, very gingerly put these all back in the wall. Like I say, I hate American wiring. I really do. I'm sure this is fine. I'm sure someone is watching this telling me I'm doing everything wrong. But then this slots in on the wall like so. We grab our screwdriver And we screw it in. I'm sure someone watching this is going to say, yeah, but you know, you spent, it was nearly $1,000 on this upgrade to our heating system. You could get a heat pump system for $7,000 or $8,000. And you're right, we could. And eventually we probably will get a heat pump for this house. But right now, for this winter, putting these in is good for 3 reasons. One, we have kids in the house. And if the kids play with the thermostat like they did last winter, we had a child who decided to turn the thermostat up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit and leave it there. And then we were away and we came back to a massive electricity bill. These can be locked so that you don't actually have any control on the front panel. The panel actually becomes completely locked. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't change the temperature unless you use the smartphone app or you use like a voice command through Amazon Alexa or Siri. Okay, so I've just turned the power back on. As you can see, the system is powered on, which means I installed it correctly. And one thing I'll do before I try and do any pairing is I'm just going to turn the heating up. And the fan just came on. And then the fan's just gone off. So that's cool. It means I've done it right. All right, so it's asking me if I can access the network with the wireless password. Basically, I'll share that with this. Saves me from entering passwords and stuff. And then hopefully, once it's established a connection with the Mysa, it will then use this to connect to the Wi-Fi network. So it's just established the connection with the Mysa. Hopefully now it's now going to connect to the Wi-Fi. And when it's finished, this will all be completely accessible on our home network. Generally, it doesn't take too long. Okay, now it's going to ask me to enter my HomeKit setup code, which I'm going to do down here because I don't necessarily want you to see my HomeKit password. Okay, so it's now been successfully connected to my network and we can confirm and go on with there. Now, the nice thing about this Mysa setup is that it asks you what type of heater you're doing. And in this case, we're just going to call it office heater. Okay. Or even office heater, not Heather. All right, office heater. It's a forced fan and we're going to add it to the upstairs zone because it is upstairs. And we can set it to have a set schedule. I don't know if you can see this here, but we can choose between Monday to Friday using an Energy Star schedule, or we can actually set up a schedule later. Now, I've already set up a schedule for this. And let me show you that schedule. So this is the schedule. We're telling it on a Sunday, which is what it is today, to keep the room at 18 degrees Celsius until about 7 o'clock in the evening when it starts to get a bit colder. And we're going to go up to 21 degrees Celsius and then drop back to 16 overnight because we're not going to be in this room. And then Monday, we get up at 5, we leave for work at 7 or thereabouts. And so that is when the schedule is set up. Now, if someone is at home, you can override that. There are capabilities for you to do that. The cool thing about this is that it tells you how much power you've used throughout the week. So in this app, for example, it's telling me that this week so far, we've used 0.2 kilowatt hours to heat the house. It's been a warm day today, probably the last warm day of the year. We've used 5 kilowatt hours upstairs in terms of heating since we installed this system. Now I've installed kind of 3 or 4 of them so far. So this is going to be one of, I think, 4 or 5 that I've got left to install today. So we're going to go through and install the rest, and it will allow us to control how much electricity we're using while also controlling the temperature of the house. And the really cool thing about this is if you go to your home, it will automatically come in and it will tell you my heater. It says at the moment it's set to heat to 16 degrees Celsius using the Apple Home app. But I can also turn this down and it will automatically respond on the gauge there. I can tell it to heat to 30 and the fan would come on in a few seconds. There we go, it just came on. So it's pretty responsive. Let's set that back to 16 and you can set it to auto. Now, the cool auto thing is part of Apple's HomeKit setup. And of course you can't use that if you don't use a system that has a cooling system on it, but it's still pretty cool. So there you have it. That is the Mysa smart thermostat. We're going to be installing these throughout the house over the next couple of days. And then hopefully in the spring, we'll take a look and see how much electricity it saved us versus the house we lived in last year. Now, the house we lived in last year was slightly different. It was an apartment. It had an open floor plan. And although it was about the same square footage, it did also have these cadet forced air heaters. I'm hoping because this house is more energy efficient, it was built in 2006 rather than the 1990s of our old apartment, that this will already add to an already efficient house. But I'm hoping that this will keep our electricity heating bills really sensibly low. It'll prevent people from just randomly turning up the thermostat and forgetting about it, because it will automatically reset if it's on a schedule. And hopefully it will save us some money. And money saved means, I don't know, more electric cars. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you liked this video and you want us to make more like these, please let us know. We want to know if you want us to make more videos other than just EV stuff and clean car stuff. If you want us to focus on some energy stuff as well, let us know in the comments below. You can also support the show through Patreon. You can send us a coffee through Ko-fi, or you can check out our swag store. There's some Halloween merch in there right now. All tricks, no treat. No, all treat, no tricks. No, no tricks, all treat. That's the one. See you soon. Keep evolving.
Hi there, I just realised that I never really introduced myself in this video, and if you haven't watched this channel before and you've never seen me before, you might not know about Transport Evolved. We are a YouTube channel covering cleaner, greener, safer and smarter forms of transport, and you can follow the link in the description below to go to our main channel. Please do subscribe, we'd love to see you there. And subscribe to this one as well. The more the merrier. Keep evolving.